back to Bodcast Game Channel. In this video I'm going to show you a new Kickstarter, and it's called Domain Lords of Aether, and I wanted to give you a quick run through of the gameplay. If you go over to the Kickstarter, you'll find an overview of the rules, and I'm hoping to complement this really with this quick video showing you how those rules play out. The guys at Jolly Corpse have sent me this demo, this kind of preview. None of the artwork here is final. The components that we see here, these are just some chips that I've pulled together and some chips that the guys have sent me. But these are really just to allow me to demonstrate the gameplay. They're nothing like final production quality at all. And these are just things I've sticked up myself. Likewise with some of the artwork, we're looking at some unfinalized components. Alright, so this is really about just showing you how the game plays. It's a card game, and there's primarily two types of card. And one of the unique selling points about this game is the world cards, because you're going to be building a world that you're exploring, and you're building it with these different roads. Some of these roads have caves, forests, hills that are more difficult to move through, and also these soul wells. And I'm going to show you how that plays out during the game. The other type of cards are these conjures. So we've got a world deck and a conjure deck, and conjures consist of monsters, hexes, which are kind of like spells, and traps that you can lay across this world. Here's a start card from which the world is built, and this is a deck of Aether Lords. These are the guys that you're playing. You're going to take one of these Aether Lords, and this is going to become your character. So if you think maybe a little bit like Magic the Gathering, if you're familiar with that game, there's certainly some influence there from Magic the Gathering, where you play one of these characters. But unlike Magic the Gathering and other card combat games, you're not trying to beat the other guy down. Instead, what you're trying to do is conquer this world that we're building, this world of Abaddon, and it's kind of a virtual world where your avatar is present in this world, but you're remote from it. You can't take damage or be hurt. What you're trying to do is conquer this world, and this is what these chips are all about. These chips represent what they call ether, and ether is something which is inherent in this world of Abaddon, and your role is to extract that ether, and the ether is the source of your power, and you do that via these soul wells. So conquering this misty forest here will give you 3 ether, and then first player to earn or conquer 20 ether is declared the victor. But rather than me trying to explain all the rules, let's in our usual fashion get stuck into some gameplay, and we'll learn to play as we play. First thing we want to do is set up our 2 decks, give them a good shuffle, our conjure deck and our world deck. Next we're going to have each player choose their Aether Lord. We can play 2 to 4 players, I think is what the rules are telling us, but I think it does expand out beyond that. But 2-player is perfectly fine, so let's demonstrate a 2-player game. And there's going to be 5 different domains, alright, and this is where the game gets its name. There's 2 Aether Lords for each of the 5 domains: faith, order, deception, chaos and gloom. So there's going to be quite a lot of variety. You've got 1 of 10 Aether Lords to choose from for your character, and each one of these will come with a starting ether pool and also some different special abilities that are kind of constant abilities. I'm going to choose a couple of relatively straightforward Aether Lords to play. You've got one with a passive ability and one with a tap ability, and I'll show you what those mean as we play. Passive's easy, it's always active. Tap means we can only use it once per turn, because we tap cards turn them sideways to use their ability, and then at the start of your turn everything gets readied again. Alright, so those are the two I'm going to use, Lord Etheria and Hydalia. Each player is going to need to set aside a stack of 20 chips representing their ether. In order to win the game, you've got to claim all 20 of these ether. Notice they've got two styles. I've just sticked up some poker chips. This is untapped ether. You spend it, you use it, you turn it over. This becomes tapped ether. We don't start the game with this. This is set aside. This is for us to earn. But at the start of the game, each ether lord gets a starting pool. And for Lord Etheria it's 5 when they range 4, 5, 6. We'll do exactly the same. The blue player here, Hydalia, she starts with 5 also. And we'll set her 15 aside. Each player also takes a stack of tokens. And we've got some which I've stuck it up. Again, just remember this is prototype stuff. Just to allow me to show you the gameplay. These ones with numbers on, we're going to use these to identify traps, and I'll show you that as the game begins. These unstickered ones are going to represent soul wells that we've captured, and this is going to be our player pawn. And of course we'll do the same for blue. For the start of the game, we place the start card, and this is a world card, it's double-sided. This is where our players are going to begin. The only other thing you're going to need is a 6-sided die, and we're going to roll just to see who goes first. So highest first for red, a 3 for blue, a 2. So red's going to start us off here. And the first phase of the game is just setting up our starting world. And we're going to draw a world card, so we're going to do this until the number of soul wells that we've placed in the world is equal to the number of players. So for us that's 2. So red starts by drawing a world card, and it's some plain roads, and we can place this wherever we want. All we have to make sure is that roads are connected and that everything's parallel with the start card. Now blue. Okay, so we've got a couple of choices. However we want to play it. Then red. Okay, now red's drawn a soul well. These roads, these are just means of getting from one soul well to another soul well and traversing the world of Abaddon. Soul wells, they're going to give us ether. So you can see that this one here, the shade, gives us 3 ether if we can conquer this world. Remember, our target is to try and get 20. And when we're playing a soul well, we can place it anywhere as long as it's connected to a road. This symbol here is the domain symbol, which shows us that this soul well is a gloom soul well, and that means that any ether lords from the gloom domain will get a bonus if they claim this soul well. Our starting ether lords aren't gloom. Lord Etheria is chaos, this swirling red. Hydalia is faith, this blue cross. Back to blue to draw a world. We've got a road. We could play it here, something like that if we wished. Red. Another road. No, we could play it here and run off this way, There's going to be some advantages and disadvantages, and mostly when soul wells start coming out. Now this one's got 2 roads on it. I can't play it here because you're not allowed to play roads that lead into a non-connecting road. So I could play it something like this, or like this, or maybe like this. And that's okay, you can isolate these roads, that's absolutely fine. Okay, we've got another soul well, and this is going to be the last one, and this is Hall of the Fallen. And it has the cross on it, which tells us it belongs to the faith domain. So blue's going to be quite keen to get to this. We'll put it over here. We could even place it up here. It doesn't matter whether or not there's a route back to the start card, as long as it's connected to another road. But we couldn't place it here. All roads lead into a soul well, but two adjacent soul wells, you can't move from one to the other. So anyway, let's put it here. It's quite a good valued one, and Blue's quite keen to go get that. Alright, so that's the setup complete. First player should now draw 5 cards from the conjure deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are red's cards, and then Blue will do the same. Draw 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Blue's drawn all monsters and 1 trap. Okay, we can only play monsters and traps on our turn. Now Red, as starting player, is going to begin, and the battle for control of Abaddon will commence. Each player begins their turn by drawing 1 conjure and 1 world card, and then playing the world card to the world of Abaddon. Now Red knows that Blue's probably going to be heading down this way, and it would be good if Red could get there before Blue. So that's what we're going to try and think about doing, heading down here, conquering this soul well and defending it. Next we grab the die and we're going to move our Lord. I have got a couple of hexes. Hexes kind of act like spells. I've got 1 trap, I've got 3 monsters. And this one says use on a soul well you control. I don't control any. And this one is used during combat. So there's nothing here I can play, but you could be playing these at any time if you wished. I do have a trap, and I might play this as it goes. But let's roll the dice first, and we'll come back to that and I'll show you how to lay a trap. What we're doing here is we're rolling for movement, and I want 1, 2, 3. I need to roll a 3 to get into that soul well. And we got a 3. So we'll move 1, 2, and now along the way, I don't have to finish my movement. I can, if I wish, lay a trap and then continue the rest of my movement. I don't have to use all the 3 movement, but I'm going to. I'm going to use 2 of it, lay a trap, and then use the 3rd one here. So this is the trap card that I had in my hand. It's called Tollgate. It says place face up, and non-order lords must pay 2 ether to pass through the Tollgate or end the movement here for this turn. Now the cost to play this Tollgate is given at the top left. It's 1 ether. So all I do is I spend 1 of my 5 ether, and all I'll do is turn it, tap it. Okay, that's 1 ether spent. So I've only got 4 left for the rest of this turn. And then I can play this trap. All I'll do for traps, and normally, like I say, they're placed face down, and you'll grab one of these trap tokens, and there's 1 of each number. And so this is trap number 1, and then I'll play the other corresponding number 1 trap token on the map here. So I know that trap number 1 is laid here on this road space. But as an exception, Tollgate says lay it face up. So my opponent knows that there's a Tollgate here on this road. And now I'll continue my movement. And my 3rd movement, I'm going to move into this Soulgate, the Hall of the Fallen. I'll place 1 of my ownership chits here to show that I've claimed this soul well. So now we know this belongs to the red player, and it's worth 4 ether. So I get to claim 4 more ether and make it available to me. Not only that, I'm now 4 ether closer to victory. Now that I've claimed this soul well, I want to defend it. And that trap on its own is just a little Tollgate. That's not enough. But I can use these monsters. Let's play this one first, and I'll show you how to play a monster. So we'll take the Gloom Bulb, and it costs me 1 ether. Now normally, the more powerful monsters are going to cost more ether to play. I'm going to keep this face down so my opponent can't see what it is, and I know it's going to cost me 1 ether. So I'll take this card, and I'll place it on the soul well I've just claimed. We grab 1 ether to pay for it, and we place that tapped on top of the monster. So this means that although this ether belongs in my pool, in my ether pool, it's now spent on this monster, and it's not going to be available to spend on other things. And that's the difference. This one that I spent to play the trap, at the beginning of my next turn, any tapped ether is going to refresh and be available to me to use for some other purpose. But for monsters, they require this kind of upkeep, and you represent that upkeep by keeping the ether tapped face down on top of the monster card. Now, if I wished, I could be a bit cheeky here, because I know that more valuable monsters cost more ether. I might want to bluff. My opponent might look at that and say, well, it's only a strength winner. That's only a weak monster. You only paid 1 ether for it. So I could, if I wished, put another 3 ether face down, and now it looks like a much stronger monster that's guarding this soul well. But it's a bluff, alright? But my opponent doesn't know that. I mean, obviously the downside is that this bluffed ether is unavailable to me to spend on all turns. As it goes, I'm not quite ready to start bluffing. Instead, that additional 3 ether I just spent, I'm going to use to place the doppelganger, and I'm going to grab another 2 to play the shapeshifter as well. That's left me with 2 untapped ether for the rest of this turn. So now I've got 3 monsters guarding this soul well for a total of 6 ether. Yeah, I think I'll end my turn there. So that's Red's turn finished. I've wandered down, I've laid a trap, I've claimed a soul well, I've defended it with some monsters. I'm feeling pretty happy. We'll hand over to Blue's turn now. So once more, Blue does the same process. Sorry, we've got a bunch of monsters here. Blue is going to draw a world card, draw a conjure. We get to place the world, and this time it's a soul well. Remember, Blue can't place this here, but maybe here. If Blue comes over here and controls those 2. I mean, the other option is we head in here this turn and try and capture that, but it's looking pretty well defended. But I think for the sake of demonstration, why don't we? Alright, I'll play the soul well here, but why don't we head in here and try and steal this soul well back from Red. I've drawn another monster, and I've got this trap card, but it's a pretty expensive one, and I want to try and save my money to summon an army to invade that. So I'm going to hold off playing this trap. Notice too that at the end of the turn there's a hand limit of 5 cards. I've got 6 cards right now. If I don't play any of these cards, I'm going to have to discard down to 5 cards at the end of the turn. Okay, so there's a hand limit on this game as well. But for now, let's see what we do. So we've played the world card, and now we roll the dice. And this is for our movement, and I'm hoping for at least a 3. Yeah, we got the 3. So it's 1, 2. Now there's a trap here, but this trap doesn't necessarily spring. If it's a trap that's controlled by you, if it matches your colour, then you can choose to just walk on by, or you could, if you wished, choose to trap it. So you've got a choice. When it's an opposing player's trap, then you've got to roll the die and take your chance. If I roll a 3 or less, then the trap will activate. Now there's different abilities and hexes that you could use to alter that die roll. But for now, we're good. We're just going to roll 1, 2 or 3 to see if we trigger this trap. And it's a 1, we trigger the trap. And it's trap number 1 for Red. It's the toll gate. Non-order lords, which is me, must pay 2 ether to pass through the toll gate or end their movement here for the turn. And once this trap is sprung, it's discarded. It goes to what they call the abyss, okay, which is a big discard pile. So let's discard this trap. We've triggered it, and we've got a choice now either to pass on through paying 2 ether or end our movement here. Let's remove the trap. Do I want to end my turn here? If I pay 2 ether, and blue's going to be down to just 3. And that's not going to be much of an army. Let's do it. Let's spend the 2 ether for the sake of demonstration. We've tapped this 2 ether, we've spent it, right? It's going to come back to us at the start of our next turn, remember. And then we can pass through the toll gates. And of course doing so has now initiated combat because we've moved into a soul well controlled by an opposing ether lord. First thing that red player is going to do is secretly order his defending monsters into the order he wishes them to come out and attack. So he's going to put Gloombulb first, then Shapeshifter, then Doppelganger. Now the blue player, I've only got 3 ether to work with, but I can look at my hand and I can grab up to 3 ethers worth of monsters to fight this battle. Let's use Devilkin and Gloombulb, and I'm going to put Gloombulb first. So that's my order: Gloombulb first, then Devilkin. Okay. And of course, I need to pay 3 ether. Let's put these tokens here to remind me who's who. So that's red, this is blue, and they're in combat order. So to initiate combat, all we do is both players now, once they've determined their order, are going to turn over their top monster. Blue doesn't have any ether to trigger his ability, so there's nothing extra we can do here, but red does. It says on Gloombulb's turn, you may reduce a combating monster's power by 1 for each 2 ether paid. The power of a monster is given here, the number 1. Normally what would happen now is that Gloombulb on blue side would hit red's monster for power 1, and this monster would hit this monster for 1. So it would reduce each of these powers down to 0. Okay, but red's going to choose to pay 2 ether to reduce Gloombulb's power from 1 down to 0. That means that blue is now doing 0 damage to this one, and this one's still doing 1 damage to this one. So red pays the 2 ether by tapping it, reduces Gloombulb's power down to 0. This monster's defeated, so any monster whose power is reduced to 0 by an attack goes to the abyss, and this one does 0 damage to red's Gloombulb, so this Gloombulb stays in play. This goes to the abyss. Not a good start for blue. This monster is still the active monster, so blue now turns over the next monster in line, and it is Devilkin. Devilkin's got 2 power, Gloombulb only 1. So Gloombulb's going to hit Devilkin for 1, reducing his power down to 1. Devilkin's going to do 2 damage to Gloombulb, taking his power down to 0. Okay, so this time Gloombulb is defeated and goes to the abyss. But the damage that Gloombulb did to Devilkin, that remains. So Devilkin is now still a power 1 monster instead of a power 2. Alright, so red turns over his next monster in line, and it is the Shapeshifter. So this time Devilkin is, remember, he's been reduced to only 1 power, so he's going to do 1 damage to Shapeshifter. He goes down to 1. Shapeshifter's power is 2. He's going to kill Devilkin, whose power is already reduced to 1. So Devilkin goes to the abyss. Shapeshifter survives because he can soak up that 1 damage, no problem. Alright? So that's the way combat works. Red has remained victorious and successfully defended the soul well. So these monsters go back on as defenders, and we'll keep Shapeshifter face up because we know that that monster is revealed. And the ether that we lost for our defeated Gloom Bulb goes back tapped to the red player's ether pool. Likewise, the ether remains tapped here for all the monsters that got sent to the abyss for blue. So blue made an unsuccessful challenge on that soul well, but he can't stay here. He's got to either go back to a soul well that he controls anywhere in the world, or, if there are none, or optionally, back to the start card. So blue is banished back to the start. We head back to red's turn. So our ether is refreshed. We draw a conjure. We've got a hex this time, Flash Flood. And a world card which we play to the world. Let's play it over here. That's fine. And let's roll the die for movement. A 5. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm going to move across here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to play Flash Flood, I think. Which is a 1-cost hex. Turn an unoccupied world tile upside down. It's inaccessible for 1 turn. So it costs you 1 ether to play. That goes to the abyss. We pay our 1 ether, and the world I'm going to turn upside down is the shade, and that will block off blue's route into where I am here. Okay, blue draws a world and a conjure. Ah, interesting. Okay, let's play the world card first, and I'll talk to you about turmoil. This is an interesting world card. It has a village or town on it, and this +1 die roll here. +1 here means that my movement effectively gets +1 on it, so I can effectively move through that town for no movement cost. And where shall I play this? Let's play it here. That'll do for now. And now let's tell you about turmoil. In this game, in the demo that I've been sent, or the prototype, turmoil's a trap. But one of the things that the guys have done for the version on Kickstarter is they've added some event cards, so a new type of card called event, and they're going to appear as world cards. Some event's going to happen, it's going to trigger straight away as soon as you draw that card, and it's going to be some kind of event that affects the whole world. This one, for example, will mean that we're going to have to pool all our hands and then re-deal them. So it kind of shifts around what's going on in this world. Let's imagine that's played out. This is going to go straight to the abyss. We pool our hands, we give them a shuffle, and we deal them, starting with the player to my left, which is the red player. And hopefully we'll get some better cards as a result of this. Okay, so these are world events. Look out for them. There's another one I think called Ether Explosion that the guys are working on, which will basically give you a whole ton of ether to use till the end of that turn. I think it gives you a whole 20. So when that Ether Explosion happens, suddenly you've got a surge of ether out of Abaddon that you can summon monsters, play cards from your hand. We've got to refresh blue's ether. So now blue will roll for movement as normal, and it's only a 1. But remember Hydalia's passive ability. All of Hydalia's movement rolls may gain 2. So that gives us a movement of 3. And now that we've got a good mixture of cards, why don't we launch an attack back on this soul well again. So red as the defender gets to order his defenders. We'll keep it as it was, I think. And now we'll summon blue's attackers again. We've got 2 monsters here. We've got 5 ether available. Let's we'll put Fluxug into combat for 2 ether, and let's have battle commence. So Flux Slug v Doppelganger. So at the moment it's 1 power v 1 power, which would kill both of these. And red would be victorious with 1 monster left. But blue can play Fortify. And this says target combating monster gains 1 power for this turn and it costs 1 ether. So let's play Fortify. Flux Slug is now a power 2 monster. So blue's Flux Slug hits Doppelganger for 2. Doppelganger hits Flux Slug for 1. So now Flux Slug is reduced from a power 2 to a power 1. Doppelganger goes to the abyss. And we reveal reds are the monster. Let's put these here to remind us who's who. So it's Shapeshifter. Shapeshifter's power 2, so it's going to knock out Flux Slug. Flux Slug's only got power 1 left, so it's not going to knock out Shapeshifter. This one goes to the abyss, and red remains safe. Okay, now red's going to take the 3 ether back, tapped, and blue's going to get dismissed back to the start card once more. And we head back into red's turn. We draw a world card, we draw a new conjure, and this is a good one for red. It's called Abyssal Tear. It's good because it's of the same domain as our Ether Lord. It's a chaos card, and any hexes or traps, they're going to cost 1 less to play if they're in the same domain as you. So although the Abyssal Tear is a 2 cost hex, it's only going to cost Lord Etheria 1. We'll put this over here. It kind of stops the road heading into this this soul well. So there's lots of different ways you could be applying strategies. You're applying strategies in the way you lay roads. You're applying strategies in the way you defend these soul wells with monsters, and when you can bluff those. There's also something called apparitions. So if I didn't have a monster, let's say, well, I have Caustic Harpy. But what I could do is I could potentially, let's say I want to play Caustic Harpy. Alright, so I'm going to play this face down to defend this soul well. I'm going to pay the two ether cost. But I'm getting a little bit tired of blue invading my soul well. I want to put some more monsters down, but I don't have any. I don't have any monsters. So what you can do is you can create an apparition. And what you'll do is you'll pay the say the ether cost of this hex. And you play it face down. From the back it looks like a monster. So what I'll do is I'll pay the upkeep cost as if it was a monster. Now as far as my opponent's concerned, this is a monster. I mean, I could even bluff it up higher. But now blue might be put off coming and invading this soul well because it looks like I've got 3 monsters defending there. If blue did invade, I would of course reveal this as not a monster but just an apparition. This goes off, and then I'm only left with the monsters that are real monsters. Okay, so there's lots of different ways you can bluff, and this is what's exciting about this game. Is you've got the different hexes, you've got the abilities, you've got these passive abilities, you've got lord abilities, you've got a world to traverse, you've got bluffing, all these different strategies combining into what could prove to be a very exciting game. But not only that, one of the reasons why blue is so keen to get his hands on Hall of the Fallen is because it matches his domain. Hydalia, she's of the Faith domain, and this is what this is, that cross symbol. And that means any monsters that defend a soul will that matches your domain get +1 power. So suddenly all your monsters are powered up. But not only that, any monsters which match your domain. This was a chaos monster, or it was played by blue. But if it was played by Etheria here, because it's a chaos monster and we're the chaos domain, it would have power 2 by default instead of just power 1. And if that was defending a soul well, a chaos soul well, then it would be +2. So this will be a power 3 monster. So you can really see that as the game progresses, and you're getting closer and closer to 20 ether. You're playing out monsters that I hopefully match your domain. You're conquering soul wells, boosting up those monsters, getting stronger and stronger. So the game, as you play on, just escalates and gets more massive and more exciting. That's domain. I wanted to keep this to one short video. Go and check it out on Kickstarter. It's really worth it. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to carry on playing here. My son and I play this 2-player, but it's 2 to 4, and I think they've got some ideas about expanding that beyond 4 to 5, 6, 7, 8. That was Domain, Laws of Ether. Best of luck with Jolly Corpse with their Kickstarter campaign. See you.